happens when truth doesn't matter anymore? What happens?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, what happens when truth doesn't matter anymore? Good morning. Welcome to another episode of The Outsiders. I'm your host, Sean Sims, and this week I will be joined with an interview. Actually, I did an interview with Marlo Hargrove. Superstar Doc Cheatham, my co-host, is feeling just a smidge under the weather. He's got a little bit of the scraggly voice going. So yours truly, Sean Sims, is going to be flying solo today without my co-host, Superstar Doc Cheatham. I do, however, have Nicole in studio as well. So Nicole, I'm going to reach out to you every now and then just to get a little opinion. I let her know that. She goes, I don't know about this stuff. Sure you do. You'll be just fine, okay? What I want to announce, there's a Mother's Day celebration. I'm going to announce this. I'll always love my mama. Mother's Day celebration presented by Herman Boo Cooper and Ralph Magwood at The Lodge. 28329 Mile Circle, Catonsville, Maryland, 21228. This is Saturday, May 13th, 2023. Join us from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it's going to be some fun there, food, frolic for all, Mother's Day celebration. I wanted to announce that. And in the news, I don't know if you commoners, if you Americans have been paying attention to actually history. I'm a history buff, and what happened today in the news, the British are celebrating Charles III has ascended the throne of England. Finally, the British monarch has a king. And what's going on is there was a coronation of Charles III. This is history. The 40th monarch crowned since 1066. William the Conqueror. You ever heard of William the Conqueror, Nicole? Oh, that's not a good start.
Yeah.
The Battle of Hastings, 1066. So that's just a little history, and history was made earlier today in England, our cousins over on the other side of the pond. And that's going to be interesting to see how Charles handles things with being king. He had plenty of time under the tutelage of Mum. Queen Elizabeth II has taught her son quite well on how to handle the throne and the proper etiquette of the throne and what to do. So we'll see.
She didn't teach him how to handle relationships.
Well, that's just jump right on in, Nicole. You know what when happened, and I think that was a tragedy. That was terrible. But we'll see how he does it. Queen Camilla, people are in shock. They never saw this coming. I never saw this coming as well. But Princess Diana, I mean, she was something else. She was gorgeous. She was very articulate, quiet, very, removing the bombs, the roadside bombs, helping to do that, and what she did as far as helping people all around the world, dearly, dearly missed. But now we have Queen Camilla over in England. The President Biden, I'm going to slide right into our so-called royalty. President Biden's popularity, his approval rating is slipping like a rock. It is down to 37%. And at this rate, what I see going on with Joe Biden, the age, I mean, I don't believe in ageism or anything like that, so don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. But you're talking about the leader of the free world, and he's going to be well into his mid-plus 80s if he was to win the presidency again, if he's to be reelected. I don't believe that's going to be the scenario. I believe that, and people don't like it because people can't handle the truth, they get upset. But I believe, my prediction is that Trump will win, even with all these legal issues. I believe that somehow he'll pull it off, make history as the only Republican to win the presidency, lose it, and then regain it. It's never been done in the Republican Party. The Democrats, Grover Cleveland, did do that some years ago, but I believe he's pushing to make history. And our own Steve Austin, because Steve Austin has nothing on this man. And let's start out. I want to talk about the $260 million man, not the $6 million man. The $260 million man, Lamar Jackson. And Rock's not here. Doc's not here. The Rock and Doc connection are missing today. But what happened with that contract signing, $260 million, the highest paid player in NFL history. Our own bionic quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Congratulations, Lamar, on your contract. And it's terrific to see that he's going to be back with the Ravens another 5 years, getting it in. And this time, okay, Lamar, no, please. I mean, the last 2 seasons, halfway through the season with the injury, 2 years in a row, and we just stumble, fumble, bumble our way, get through another season. We almost made past the playoffs, except for one play. But let's try to play the whole season, Lamar. Okay, that's all I ask. Let's try to get through the whole season without something, let's see how that comes about. And I think if that's done, I think the Ravens can go to their 3rd Super Bowl and get their 3rd Super Bowl ring. And I want to redecorate the Raven Cave and add that Super Bowl information, Super Bowl 58, and have that on the wall. So that would be great to happen. The Orioles record, pitching, Batista the Beast. Batista. Cano is doing well. The relievers are something else, and he actually won the league's best relief pitcher for April. The bats are cracking. They beat the Braves, the top of the National League, Mountcastle, Hayes, Rushman, Mullins. The bats are cracking, and it looks like we may be able to go to a World Series. If they keep playing at this rate, I see a World Series. The last time we had one was in '83. A lot of people listening, some people listening, a lot of people weren't even born then, and if they were, they probably were just little kids or babies. So that'll be great to see that happen. My co-host Doc Cheatham actually played ball, almost made it to the majors, but the military stepped in and pulled that from under the rug. Yours truly, I played ball as well and played a little baseball as well. But I hope the Orioles do well. Now let's get to it, because I want to get to this interview. It was a very poignant interview I had. He's going to be our in-studio guest next week. I'm going to have him in studio, and that's Marlo Hargrove of F.A.C.E. And I want everyone to listen to this interview, because you're going to learn something in this interview. Nicole, could you cut one, please?
3-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez. He was shot during an armed robbery inside of a cell phone store in Canton over the weekend.
I got so kind-hearted person, 23-year-old brother, son, friend, co-worker.
But wanting to talk publicly about what happened to their loved one. 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez shot and killed while working inside the T-Mobile store in Canton last Sunday.
It's hard to know that we lost my brother to 2 criminals right while in this city.
Fabian's mother and father unable to speak English, but wanting to be heard.
Estoy muerta en vida. No te hagas a mí.
No puedo sentir, se está perdiendo mi hijo. Both parents saying they are alive, but dead inside.
Son, at work, doing an honest job, being shot over people trying to steal phones, money, or whatever they're trying to do.
I'm not going to make this about the mayor. To me, this is about the young man who lost his life. I'm not going to make this about the mayor. Murder.
Fabian's family members calling on city leaders, including Cohen and the mayor, to do something to get the city's crime crisis under control.
We want justice for my brother. that we want Brandon Scott to fulfill to protect the city.
Yes, the Marlo Hargrove interview is coming up, but I was going to get to this. What happened with Mayor Slim Shady? What happened with the Gonzalez family? And I'm just going to say this. Mayor Slim Shady does not care about the Gonzalez family. He does not care about you or your family. This is my opinion, and this is how I feel. Or any other families, period. He doesn't have a family of his own, no wife, no kids, okay? He's completely self-absorbed and lied to the people. He lied about protecting you from murderers. He lied about caring for you. As a matter of fact, let's get to the announcement. I'm going to make this announcement right now, and he's up for an Oscar at the next Academy Awards for the year's Best Male Performance nominee for his press conference performances after a tragic event. Baltimore's own Slim Shady Brandon Scott. He should get an Oscar. This guy should get an Oscar for these fake tears and fake sympathy, fake phony, because that's what's going on. These crocodile tears, and he's getting upset. He's cursing at reporters. I think it's an act. I think the man should get an Academy Award, or at least be nominated for one, for the acting that he does. And Zeke Cohen, Zeke, using this moment to brown-nose Slim Shady, disgraceful. When he says, and this is while this family is grieving, and my heart goes out to them. I watched this segment on Fox, and I was hurting. I mean, I was almost tearing up. And asking for the mayor to protect them. They're asking them for the mayor's protection, and Zeke says it's not the mayor's fault. I mean, disgraceful. Is that your job now, Zeke? To be Slim Shady's lapdog and to cover for his incompetence and lack of protection? To cover for a weak on crime coddling, twinkle toes, cupcake? This murdering, this killing is just getting way out of hand. And I wish I had my co-host Doc here, because we were really going to get into this, but we're gonna touch on this next week. You know, don't get it twisted, because this homicide murder going on in the city. You got this kid and his brother, the 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, walking up into a T-Mobile, just shooting the guy who's working hard and trying to make a living. And this is what goes on. And I think it's a disgrace, and I think that something definitely needs to be done about what's going on with this homicide rate in the city of Baltimore. And speaking of which, speaking of Slim Shady, I just want to get to this as well. Nicole, cut to, please.
2023 starting much like 2022 ended violence in the streets of Baltimore. Baltimore is a terrible, dangerous, and wild west type of place.
Mass shootings in Baltimore yesterday. No arrests have been made in either one yet, and in all, 10 people were shot in Baltimore yesterday alone.
People of color, we just keep killing each other, and it's the young people. We have future on them. They have future. And we not have no future, no young people, because they're killing off each other.
The people who did this felt they could get away with it, and the reason why they felt they can get away with it, because the mayor has failed to keep the city safe. Who's responsible for the 15% that he said that we would have a 15% reduction in homicides every year while he's mayor? We haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I will aim to reduce homicides by 15% each year in my term, getting us below 300 homicides in my first year.
Well, that has not happened. In fact, Baltimore is now on pace to see its deadliest year ever.
Of the Maryland Public Policy Institute says Baltimore's crime is a deadly disease.
The leading cause of unexpected death in Baltimore is murder. Brandon Scott should be the one held accountable for these crimes because he's not doing enough to change the dynamic in Baltimore. He's holding press conferences instead of getting stuff done.
Those emotional comments come after the mayor failed to fulfill his campaign promise for the second year in a row.
I will aim to reduce homicides by 15% each year in my term, getting us below 300 homicides in my first year.
Okay, has that happened? Big promises, campaign promises. This is the promise that catapulted Brandon into the mayor's office. This one promise to keep, just like George Bush Sr., everyone remembers, read my lips, no new taxes. Now you got Brandon, read my lips, lower homicide rate each year. So you've got a homicide rate that's getting higher and higher, and these Monsi, his program Monsi, the homicide numbers that they have on their website for 2021 for Baltimore City was 334. Yet, I've checked out other locations, other venues that have homicide rates, and theirs are as high as 338. So, and that's for year 2021. So this is an increase of 1.1%. An increase, folks. I said last week, the week before that, it was a 0% reduction in homicide. I stand corrected. It increased 1.1%. Not a decrease in his first term, which he promised 15% of a decrease. So that means he started his first year, as we say in the sales game, I used to be in sales, he started the first year in the hole. The number for 2023, if you do the math, is 206, 15% decrease each year. 285 is what his goal was for 2021. He missed that goal. 2022, okay, his goal, 242, he missed that goal. 3 strikes, you're out, Brandon. 3 strikes, you're out, Brandon. It's 2023. Your campaign promise is, for this year, is 206. I'm going to grab a sign right here. If I can reach over and get it. This is for my YouTube and my Facebook audience. I'm going to hold it up. That is the number. 206. That is the number of homicides. No more than that number. 206 is which you promise the citizens of Baltimore to get the homicide rate down to for year 3. That's this year, 2023. Now look at here, Ace. First of all, if you were in the corporate world, the business world, the private world, not this government world where you can get away with murder, be incompetent, and not only they keep you, they give you a raise, or they promote you, but in the corporate world, in the real world, you would have been fired. I'd say no more than 6 months in. The reason why you would have been fired is because they would have seen that you were all show, no go, a lot of talk, a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you couldn't put up. Okay, everyone listening to me, I'm just simply resetting my 206 side. So that's what I believe 3 strikes you're out. Slim Shady, you know, it's about time to roll, time to go. And this recall, Doc, myself, and others, Peace Organization, Uripsy Morgan, and so on, they're calling for a recall law or charter amendment to be enacted. I believe that's fine to get out people who can't do what they say they're going to do, to get out people who are doing backdoor deals, backstabbing BG&E, you backstab the citizens of Baltimore City. And there should be a mechanism to remove that person. Recall is one. I am more in favor and lean towards remove and replace, because there is something right now in the charter where you can remove, but it's very difficult. The city council's involved, and I don't want them involved in it. Oh my goodness. I'd rather have the citizens straight away be able to do it. So I believe in remove and replace as a mechanism to do that. And I want to talk about the shakeup, the soap opera, as the administration turns. It's called mismanagement, folks. Brandon's an amateur. I don't care if he was the city council president. I don't care if he was on the city council. He's an amateur. He's never been out there in the real world and managed a business. Let's get that straight. Being in government, you know, coming in on whoever coattail or skirt tails, and being city council president, who cares? He doesn't have management skills. He's showing it. He's an amateur. He doesn't know what he's doing. Now, the new phrase he's using is called a reset. That's the new phrase. Everybody, hey, we got to reset. Hey, we got to get the government. We got to get things together. And we got to do a reset. We got to reset things. That's Slim Shady's new phrase. Now, some genius came up with this. And I believe that they thought about, maybe some people were seeing through what he was doing. The outsiders, we're not going to let them pull this misdirection, okay, and get away with it. Folks, let me explain to you all that is happening in Slim Shady, the reason why he's using this new term to describe his administration. And he's focusing on this new term, reset. This is just a fancy word for bait and switch. It's a bait and switch. So you say reset, bait and switch, reset. The outsiders busted him in that hard state of the city speech when he purposely left out the term every year of my term, after he said he promised a 15% reduction in homicides. He did not give you his full promise. The meat of the campaign promise is that it is each year of his term, there's a 15% reduction. So they ran what is called a misdirection. They leave it out, and then he's talking about reset, and the number is 206. He does not want you all to know that. The mayor and his so-called administration, the Shady Bunch, they do not want you to know. They do not want you to focus on the fact that he had a campaign promise for 15% reduction each year. You don't hear others talking about it. You may hear Fox bring it up, and they do. They talk about it. But they don't go into the detail that the outsiders go into. They don't analyze in the manner, the way that the outsiders look into the situation. We're three-dimensional thinkers. We're not two-dimensional thinkers. So we're looking into this in more detail, and we're letting people know no one else is doing this. No one else is doing this. We're letting them know 206 is the number, period. And this is his third term, and this is why he wants this phrase to be in the psyche of the Baltimore City citizenry. He wants this phrase to go into your subconscious mind. When you're not even thinking about it, you're thinking about it. And they're putting it out. When you think about Brandon Scott, you think about the word reset. This is a psych job. We don't want you thinking about reset because that is a misdirection. That is a bait and switch. 206. That is the number which should be in the mind of every citizen because that's what he promised. You have the Gonzalez family, you have families all over the city that have to deal with these tragedies, tragic situations that are going on, and family members being murdered on the streets, at work, and it's disgusting. He's weak, he's feckless, twinkle toes, cupcake mayor on crime, and that's why you have this going on. Now I want to get to my interview with Marlo Hargrove, and it has to do with Safe Streets and these programs and what one of his mechanisms he's using in order to reach his goal that he promised. And now, Nicole, cut 3, please.
So, in regards to this Safe Streets program and your program, and how, I guess you spoke with Shante Jackson in regards to getting your program in to help the citizens of Baltimore City to help reduce the homicide and violence rate. How did that conversation go with her?
Well, I actually watched the Fox 45 News and seen the article or the episode that they were doing in regards to the $5 million that was put into the programs, or the 45 programs, or the 44 actually programs. And I was trying to see how FACE, Freedom Advocate Celebrating Ex-Offenders, could be a part of the 44, become the 45th program, to be a part of the $5 million that has been allocated to, I believe it was Life Bridge being one, Catholic Charities, and Safe Streets being another. So the reason I reached out by way of, it was a message on social media, and she responded and said that we could apply for some grant funding. So it was no conversation like between her and I individually, but it was over social media.
Okay. So your organization has been around for a long time.
Correct.
Okay, how long have your organization been around?
We've been around for 20 consecutive years.
Okay, so you have an organization that's been around for 20 consecutive years, and you've done a lot of work in the community. I'm trying to figure out, as a manager, as a professional, as a businessman, I'm looking at who's going to be a part of a planned project, which I have. In this case, it's this Monty Safe Street program, which is another mechanism that the mayor has at his disposal to use in order to keep his campaign promise of the 15% homicide reduction each year of his term. So if I'm making a campaign promise of that magnitude, I want to have the most effective organizations and people in my toolbox to use to do that. So it baffles me that you aren't at the head of something like this and implementing it and getting your advice. Have you gone to them to try to or attempt to give your advice?
I reached out several times, several encounters. We have passing different events and town hall meetings, and all of these meets and greets to give out business cards with a whole bunch of rhetoric to state that we will be a part of the equation. That has not happened. I had a relationship with the mayor now, Brandon Scott, when he was a part of the 300 Men March movement, way before these organizations being one, We Are Us movement came into fruition.
So we have some history of street credibility before he even became mayor. So he was well known and well aware of the F.A.C.E program even before he got into the term of the position that he is in now. So 20 consecutive years, even worked along with Shady Street as well as these other organizations who are getting the funding. So it behooves me to think that they do not know of the F.A.C.E organization. Even to Senator Hayes, being in a 21217 zip code is still doing phenomenal work there without their support. So they are well aware of F.A.C.E, the work that we do, the magnitude of the great work here in Baltimore. So I do not have the answer to that as well. You know, we are not about playing the bureaucracy or pointing the finger or the rhetoric or who's doing what and who's not doing what. But if you're saying there's going to be a decrease of the crime and the police commissioner is talking about repeat offenders, then why aren't we at the table? At least having a discussion of what we can do, not to decrease what is happening, but increase the services that they're saying that they are already providing.
Well, they're saying that they're providing these services. And again, you know, it's a mechanism that is utilized to decrease the crime, the homicide rate, and that's what it's there for. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is the mayor, he is the top of the heap. The buck stops with him. Not these organizations, not Safe Streets, not Monty, not the police commissioner, not any community activist groups as far as getting things done and keeping the campaign promise. The buck stops with him. And when doing this and making this campaign promise for 15% reduction in homicide each year of his term, again, utilizing the mechanisms that he has at his disposal, and just like you mentioned, police commissioner, that's another mechanism, the police, the commissioner, that the mayor has at his disposal in order to reach his goal, in order to help the citizens of Baltimore live in a safer place. And there have been questions about, I guess, how the program spends the money and who's working and locations and where the money is going, how it's being allocated. It's the transparency is horrible. And what do you think of the $650,000 for this cab company? This money went out for this cab company.
I find it to be real insulting that there is funding out here to help make Baltimore a much safer and better place to live. But however, we are the ones, and I say we, programs such as F.A.C.E that's out here in these communities. Now I know the buck does start with the mayor, but it's a level of accountability, but these programs like Bridge and these other entities and you know, Catholic charities, but F.A.C.E is just the name of one entity that's out here constantly doing the work. But if there's $650,000 or whatever money that's out there to these agencies, they can come audit us and see that we've applied for Marcy grant funding, but we were denied. Once we were active, we had documentation to prove our credibility. We had documentation because it's better than conversation, and that's what's going on, a lot of conversations. We done met with the commissioner, Baltimore Commissioner Michael Harrison. We done met with Brandon Scott. We done met with these folks, but to be able to be a part of these agencies that's getting the funding, we've worked with some of these agencies. But when it comes to making these decisions, again, I concur and I agree with you. It starts with Brandon Scott, who is the mayor, but also has his finger on the pulse to know where this funding is going, who's getting it and who's not getting it. But it's our coming upon us and our responsibility to make sure that we're holding him, the commissioner, and these other agencies who are getting this funding accountable.
Exactly. Accountability, transparency, and what is going on with this taxpayer dollar? Where are they going? Where's money going? And I like what you just said. There's conversation, a lot of word soup, a lot of talking, conversation, and no investigation. And that is what needs to happen, especially when you have a cab company
that's supposed to be picking up kids and taking them to home or certain locations, and 600, over 600,000, 650, 60, 630, I don't even know what the number is because it keeps changing.
But taking them to where? To what location? Taking them back to drug-infested areas, taking them into 85% of the population up in the Sandtown, Winchester, Harlem Park area, 21217 zip code, who have the highest crime rate, that has the highest folks who are incarcerated, taking them back to the poverty area where there's crime and sitting on at an all-time high, the epidemic. So what are we taking them to? What results are they getting? Because we throw money out there, but are we empowering the mind? Are we just doing it for the moment? But are we really about the movement? Are we really trying to process and help people to become sustainable, or are we just profiting off of their pain? And that's what I sit here and I question myself, because I hear about the great work that F.A.C.E is doing. Then support the work. We're not saying give us the whole 100 piece of the pie, but give us a slice. Give us something to work with so that we can get a much greater impact for the better, for the work that they're saying that we're doing that is so good. If you help us to do good, then let's do better. We're not saying we have all the answers. We're not saying that they can't, whatever funding they're getting, but there's no way on this earth that we should be in a state of mind and in the crisis that we in and not seeing no results positive happening, and all of this money has been allocated, and I don't see no positivity that's occurring with all this funding that is being thrown around. And it just behooves me to think that we can continuously do the same thing and expect different results.
Well, Marlo, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You've got a situation here where money is just, the mayor's just throwing money out left and right to, I guess, I don't know, people he knows, he doesn't know, nonprofits, this Clean Core and thing with Lazarus Wright, and this guy, he's getting the $1.3 million, and he knows nothing about cleaning as a trucking company. And there needs to be transparency, it needs to be accountability. Marlo, thanks again. You're going to be our special in-studio guest next week, right?
I look forward to it. And I'll say just real brief, they had a church, AME Zion Church on Pennsylvania Avenue. They had someone, a motivational speaker, I can't recall her name, but I'll have it for you next week. She comes in and said that, you know, to empower the youth, we need mentors and folks who understand where they're coming from. Now, how can this happen when the program F.A.C.E has been here for 20 years? And then the sadness of it, in closing, I reach out to her as well, and no response. But you're talking about programs who are out here in the community every day. But yet you're going to say there's no program out here that's out here mentioned to keep the kids. And we do the work and see that we got our foot and our hands on the pulse and helping these kids and these youth to help better themselves. And then we also say that there's no help that's out here as far as the youth and mentoring them. We got to do better. We have to do better in order to do better. So thank you. And I look forward to being there next week.
Well, we'll be glad to have you in studio, and what you just said, breaking news, that there's no help and you're helping. But Marlo, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
I look forward. Thank you. Peace.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yes, that was my interview I had with Marlo Hargrove. And as you could hear, what's going on with the Safe Streets, and they're getting the $5 million pumped into this Safe Street. There's no accountability. Transparency is almost non-existent. I mean, you got all kinds of things redacted and taken out, so you don't know who's who or what's what. There's this lack of credibility with this whole thing. And the reason you have this, and one of the reasons I was just pointing out, is mismanagement. You have a government that is just corrupt to the bone marrow with this. You've got somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, mismanaging. And Slim Shady couldn't manage to get himself out of a wet paper bag. He cannot manage. I heard a report where they said that the mayor dismissed 2 aides. These people weren't aides. They weren't like lunch aides or something at a school or, no. They were the chief of staff and his communications director. And I'll read quickly, Baltimore Banner, State's Mayor Brandon Scott, and he asked his chief of staff, Chesia Kager, the very well-connected, here's a nepotism again. Dad's a big-time developer, and this kid, Kalen Young, Kalen, you never called me back, so your credibility listing just dropped, your stock just dropped because he never called me back. I talked with his folk, never called me back. Okay, this Kalen Young connection, I guess they're connected in some way. I don't know, married, dating, I don't know, whatever, or they were. And it looks like, I mean, from what I'm reading in articles, I mean, this Kager woman didn't have really, she, I guess, inexperience, never was a chief of staff anywhere. But the mayor brought her on to be a chief of staff. This is what I'm talking about, dumbbell moves like this. $225K a year for a novice just coming in. And this other guy, this young man, Cirillo Manego, he just got in off what? They brought him in February as the communications director. So I don't know what's going on there. This high turnover rate. I'll read this a part of this article from the Banner. Manego ran his own consulting firm before joining City Hall. Maybe you should have just stuck with the consulting firm, kid. Which was created in April 2019 per his LinkedIn profile. Before opening the Manego Group, he worked at the Progressive, there we go. We're going to be talking about a little about progressiveness and wokeness a little bit later in the show. Towards the end, I'm going to touch on that, but he worked at the progressive nonprofit, The Hub Project. Doesn't that sounds very cosmopolitan, where he was a campaign associate and internship coordinator. He did not work in city government long enough to have his salary displayed in the public payroll database. Well, that is embarrassing. Nicole, what do you think of that? The guy was only there since February. They didn't even have enough time to put what his salary was. He was in and out so fast.
Wow, that's sad.
I mean, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, that is. I heard that on the news myself, that he had let go of people, and I'm like, really, dude?
Yeah,
they weren't even in there that long.
Nope.
For you to let go. I think you should give people a chance before you, because maybe there should have been a conversation held to see what was their expectation and give them the opportunity to maybe step up and do what they needed him to do. But it was kind of like the way the news presented it. It was like they weren't doing what they wanted, and he let them go.
Bye. Don't let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord splits you. Now, this is what the citizens of Baltimore, we need that ability, readily so, to be able to get rid of Slim Shady. He's the one who's a screw-up. I mean, he's the one who's incompetent. He's the one who's weak on crime. He's a cupcake, twinkle toes on crime. That's why things are running amok. And it's this Monty, a Safe Street, you're wheeling out Shantae, and she's the Sideshow Bob thing, and wheeling her out with the Sideshow to try to distract, and she starts throwing numbers out.
Yes, we're doing very well, and things are just wonderful, and our numbers and our program, Nancy, is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's like mom's apple pie. I'm Shantae. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. He's not reaching his campaign promise numbers. He's failing. He's a failure, and that's what's going on. You can wheel Monty out all you want and give these rinky-dink numbers, but the bottom line is the homicide rate is through the roof. It's still sky high. You're nowhere near your numbers. And 206, Brandon, 3 strikes, you're out. 206, and it's going to be time to bounce, time to go. And then there's the issue of a lack of staff I'm reading about. This is what I believe, okay?